The story of Secrets of the Obscure is certainly different from what we've experienced so far, but how different is it really? Hey guys, it's Arali, and as you can see by the title of this video, today we will summarize the story of Secrets of the Obscure. Obviously, there will be spoilers, and I will try to keep it as short as possible. If you want to know the full story, you can either play it yourself, or watch my streams where I play through all of it. I also wanted to take this time to let you guys know that I will be doing a lore synopsis of sorts for Secrets of the Obscure. I want to summarize everything we found out lore-wise in this expansion as well. Now, I'm not sure whether I should make a video or do it as a stream with you guys, so let me know in the comments down below which one you would prefer. Also, I will say that this synopsis is more on the lighthearted side, as I wanted to make it a little more fun than just me rambling off everything that's written in the story journal. But with all that said, let's just get right into it. So we start out with getting tricked by Mirai, the news reporter from Cantha. She fakes a letter from one of our friends. Who you get a letter from depends on your race, which is always a fun little way to make the story feel personal. When you go to meet her, she interviews you about the whole End of Dragon story and pretty much our reasoning for how we did what we did. We then receive mail from Taimi, and Mirai leaves. In the mail, Taimi sends us an updated communicator which lets us contact most of Dragon's Watch, but everyone's busy, and luckily Bram doesn't even have a message set up, so we do not get reminded of what a disappointment he is. When we talk to Ivan though, he sends us to Garenhof to investigate some strange happenings, since we are currently unemployed. Having nothing better to do, we journey off to Garenhof to find that the whole town is in uproar because the wizard's tower that's been there since forever has disappeared. It's all very tragic because apparently these people have no idea how to live their lives without this floating tower and their enslaved elementals.
Tragic.
Some villagers are even so upset that they attack us, and we get our first look into some strange new corruption taking place. We also learn about a group of sketchy individuals that were snooping around town. We follow these individuals to Gandharan Fields, and when we find them, they kick us out of their camp.
Rude!
We then decide to wait until nightfall to sneak back into camp. Night arrives, and before we get the chance to sneak into camp, some villagers get attacked by strange new demon creatures. Our first look at the enemy faction for this expansion, the Cryptas, who will probably be forgotten by the time this expansion is over. And not the cool snake-like forgotten, but the actual never-to-be-seen-again forgotten. After doing what we're best at, that killing everything that has a red outline around it, we finally sneak into camp. Here we find out some info on this group of people. They call themselves the Astra Ward, and the leader of this particular group is named Arena. They rally to go hunt something. We follow the hunters, and suddenly a rift opens up and a fight breaks out. We jump in, and surprise surprise, Arena recognizes us as the commander.
You know who I am.
Everyone knows who you are.
We help them defeat the creatures, and at the end get pulled into the rift. We land in a strange new place, like a cathedral or temple of sorts, that has some Caelid-looking corruption. Yeah, like that. There's a bunch of dead Astra Ward members, but we hear Arena in the distance. We follow the voice and end up on a big platform. Here, a version of Deimos with some extra appendages appears before us. He circles us with curiosity and says that we traveled here from Tyria. So, we're at this point in another realm and seem to have traveled through the mists.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
We try to defend ourselves against this demon creature before us, to no avail. Suddenly, another voice appears and tells us our predator's name is Ceres, and we are urged to run away. We do a little game of hide and seek with our new friend, and suddenly a portal appears before us, and a voice, which somewhat sounds like Taimi, comes through our brand new communicator. I guess all the voices in our head want to have a turn today. As we jump through the portal, we end up back in Tyria. Not Taimi stands before us, with Not Lazarus behind her. We realize it's Zoja, and are told this Mursad is called Maban, and that he's a friend.
What the f-
Then we meet another new person, a Norn named Frode. It's all very confusing, but we get thrown right back into fighting the Cryptas that are invading whatever this place is. Frode, besides informing us of the name Cryptas for these demons, also tells us they hail from Nyos, another name for the demon realm. More rifts appear, and Zoja hands us a device called the Heart of the Obscure, which has the ability to seal these rifts. We close one rift after another and finally make it outside. Here we close even more rifts because that clearly won't get old pretty fast, and we find another new friend of Zoja's, a not stone dwarf named Lear. It seems that ArenaNet set out to completely flip everything we have known about this world upside down. We help Lear clear out the area, and then we get some much needed exposition. Apparently Lear and Mabon are members of the Wizard's Court, and the Astroward are their protectors. Frode is the warden of the Astroward, their leader so to say. We also meet a Savari named Narcisse, who is a healer. And so, as a commander that fixes everyone's problems, we get volunteered to help with the Astroward's problems as well. How exciting. As we enter the next chapter of the story, we hear how the Astroward is trying to locate two more of the wizards who were corrupted. One is named Dagda and the other is Isgarin, who's the leader of the strange bunch. But since Isgarin is all evil and stuff now because of this possession, Mabon is the current stand-in. Before we can work on locating those two, we first have to get some more exposition from Frode. We get introduced to Yuno, who's an old, almost cranky like Asura, as well as Rian, a Rift Hunter who teaches us close to nothing worthwhile about the Heart of the Obscure, just a little on how to use it and that it was made by a waiting Sorrow, who's apparently one of the wizards that left on precarious terms.
I don't know about you, but I smell trauma.
But we now have the ability to chase after the rifts. In the meantime, we also get tested for Cryptus 19 because spending time in Nyos can have some bad effects on a person, and the lovely lady on the other side of the line tells us to shut up and not say anything about her. So, because that isn't suspicious at all, we do exactly that. Also, new, older, and more mysterious communicator voice lady turns out to be named Paitha. At least we got her name before she will completely take over. Oh? That's not going to happen? Never mind. After doing some not-so-volunteer work of closing rifts around the floating fractals, we get called back to camp because Dagda has been found. At camp, we're told of Dagda's location, which makes us wonder why we couldn't just have been told where she was over the communicator. But nonetheless, we venture back out to the fractals to pinpoint her exact location. On the way there, we talk a little bit with Zoja and come across Ciri, Dagda's apprentice. She had been taken over by the Cryptus too, and was too far gone apparently to save her. What warrants being too far gone, we never find out, so we just choose to kill her instead and move on to the more important character in the story.
Activating shrug mode.
We find the wizard of the celestial Dagda, who turns out to be a Jotun from long ago, before the society regressed. She instantly doesn't like us and is trying to fight off the Cryptus corruption. We, of course, have the best solution to the problem, and that's beating the corruption right out of her, but not before our new tag-along Paitha name drops Vanda, apparently a powerful demon that is responsible for trying to take over Dagda. After the fight is over, surprisingly, Dagda still doesn't like us. I guess beating someone to a pulp does not help in trying to befriend them. Who knew? We talk some more to the ward members, and I suppose they find us to be this unpredictable force, and that's why some have their reservations in trusting us. I mean, it's not like we tried to save the world one or dozens of times or anything, so that's completely understandable. So we get back to quote-unquote volunteering to close rifts and fight Cryptus across the archipelago. Dagda recovers her strength and we set out to find Lear's other half because he has the ability to split his consciousness in two. I guess it's not surprising that the Wizard's Court members have some astonishing abilities. Would have been very helpful in the many times we fought for Tyrion's survival. Anyway, we go back to camp, and since we do not have enough new characters that have been introduced, and not all races have seen representation, we get presented our #1 fan, Urchik, a Squid who's just adorable, and Galadium, who's silent but nonetheless cool. Both are some proper allies in this new bunch of people we've met. As we look around the fractals some more for Lear's bad half and closing more rifts, the wizards are getting ready to push towards the tower, because their plan is to once again say they're doing something and just wait for me to do it anyway. We get a new caller on the line who sounds crankier than anything we've heard yet, and our new BFF Paitha lets us know that this is Eparch, the Midnight King and leader of the Cryptus, who's on the hunt for Isgarin. She tells us to not mention his name too loud, or we will attract his attention, and since we have enough on our plates, and more than enough voices in our head, we choose to stay quiet. We go back to camp and are told that the group is getting ready to push towards the tower. Not trying to manipulate us at all, Paitha reminds us that we don't have any friends here. I mean, Dagda would probably love to just stab us in the heart if she knew about Paitha secretly ringing us this whole time. We don't know what Paitha wants, but we choose to keep letting her whisper sweet info into our brain nonetheless. Our next task in storming the castle is to help the ward create a key to enter the tower. Apparently the tower has a consciousness of its own, and Isgarin is the only one who can calm it down. Doesn't sound foreboding at all. After creating the key, we finally get into the southern half of the tower, and need to defend Mabon as he lowers the inner defenses of the tower. after which we find Lear's other half and stabilize it. Looks like everything's coming up roses. Now we get ready to venture deeper into the tower and find out more about everything that's going on. We travel deeper into the southern half of the tower. Apparently even the tower cannot defend itself against the cryptas without our help. How the Astral Ward has stayed safe for so long is probably the biggest secret of the Obscure. The group splits up and here we get a choice of who to join, making sure that you replay this instance again later so you can get all the achievements. Mabon and Zoja take a group one way while Lear and Dagda take another the other way. We regroup at the Hall of Confluence, which is the heart of the tower. This inner sanctum is once again locked, and Mabon needs to perform an enchantment called the Unlit Moon in order to gain access. I think at this point it's almost comical that the cryptas made it this far when we have to open lock after lock. They should call this place the Wizard's Vault, but I guess that was taken for something else this expansion. Without their fearless leader present, Zoja has to play substitute for this ritual. Of course, this doesn't come easy as cryptas start swarming the area. We defend the court and eventually the door to the inner sanctum opens. Mabon informs us that his power to resist the cryptas is slowly dwindling, and since we still don't know how the corruption works and what state of corruption is too far gone, he asks us to beat the red outline out of him when the time has come. Apparently, the Wizard's Court is full of really dense characters, and no one realizes what's happening. I think we can all see where this is headed. Mabon heads to Amnitas, and we secure the tower and make sure the portal system works properly. We get some more dialogue with the helpline lady, and she asks us a little about our relationship with Oreen. Once all the bastion keys for the portals are secured, Lear thanks us for everything we have done. Finally, some gratitude, and we get awarded a new title, Wayfinder. With this title, it's assured that we're the ward's new problem solver, and we clearly cannot escape our fate of being everyone's lackey. But since we aren't commanding any troops, I guess Wayfinder is a much more apt title. We move to the northern side of the tower, where all the goods and services anyone would ever need are located. Once there, we get called to the war room before we can venture out to Amnitas. Here, the cast grows even more with the introduction of Zizzle, a Hylic, and Galrath, a zombie, whose name should be somewhat familiar to those that played Guild Wars 1 Prophecies. We are informed that Mabon has been seen in Amnitas among the different bastions, and is acting differently. Even though everyone is super dense and can pick up on easy to read signs, they finally realize that yes, indeed, Mabon is most likely fighting off Crypta's corruption. So we get back to our side job of sealing rifts because for whatever reason that'll help us track down Mabon. After a conversation with Zoja, we realize things aren't looking too good for Mabon, so we head to the Bastion of Strength to help save him from being taken over. We meet Dragon's Watch 2.0, I mean Destiny's Edge 3.0, I mean the Astral Ward members at the Bastion, and start the search for Mabon. Turns out this was all a trap and cryptas start attacking us. Zoja pushes ahead to try to reach Mabon, and we are occupied with fighting off the demons. We finally find the two, and Zoja tries to call out to Mabon, but he's too far gone. A demon emerges out of him, and we kill it, ensuring that it can take no one else. Unfortunately, Mabon's corruption had gone too far, and the demon and the Mersad were tethered together. Since there's nothing in this world of magic with super magical beings and artifacts, absolutely no way to save him, we finish him off. I guess we cannot be bothered with antics. Zoja is obviously all distraught over it. Dagda comforts her by insinuating that she should replace one of the missing Wizard's Court members, since that's clearly the best way to get over the death of a mentor, that being taking their place. Zoja's 1-to-1 on that one, by the way. The group splits up to inform the rest of the ward members of the loss, and our shoulder-paired Paitha catches a whiff of something or someone and would not tell us what it is, but it seems she's concerned for what is to come. Now our gaze is to finding Asgarin, the leader of the Wizard's Court and Astral Ward. We have a little heart-to-heart with Zoja about everything that has occurred, from what happened in Radasum to now. Apparently being stuffed in a blighting pot affected her body and mind, and she needed time to heal physically, mentally, and spiritually. She mentions that this is her new home and she had found people that care about her more than her accomplishments. We also talk about her ascension and how she would forget her old life. I mean, if you gave me the choice to forget everything that happened in Champions, and everything Bram ever did, I would do it immediately, but for Zoja that means also forgetting all the great people she has met over the years, most importantly us. We, as the cool dudes and dudettes that we are, tell her that we stand by her side no matter what she chooses. As we leave Zoja to her tough decision, we come across Mommy Dearest Dagda, who's actually friendly to us this time around. She shows concern for our mutual friend, and we try to reassure her. The hunt for one of the most prized beings on Tyria is now on. Asgarin is out there, and what's the best way to find super magical powerful beings? Well, closing rifts of course, duh! So in turn, Rian introduces us to his wife Camilla, who tells us about these motivations to find and fight stronger cryptas and rifts. Looks like everyone needs a little motivation these days, including evil demons from Nyos. Zizzle gives us a call and says that he has an inkling of sorts that's pointing toward the Bastion of the Obscure. Our spiffy new title makes us the new errand boy, so we go there to find out what's happening. We meet our cheerleader friend Urchik and silent companion Glade, who are going to be our guides. As we venture through the deep dark halls of the Bastion, we realize that something was guiding us here, and apparently it's Mabon.
I see dead people.
We look through the garbage like sewer rats and come across an artifact. After picking it up, we get a vision of Asgarin's and Mabon's meeting, but it gets cut short as cryptas attack us. Urchik isn't really surprised, as I'm guessing having random artifacts just lying about can cause all sorts of weird things to happen. We inform Zizzle of what occurred, and Rite Attendant Paitha notes the rising tension in the air. Choosing to neglect to inform us until now, she tells us that Ceres, Meaty Wing Deimos, has apparently been hunting us since we abandoned him at our game of hide and seek. Seems like he's a sore loser. To top it all off, she drops an even bigger bomb, that being her and him are siblings.
My mind is blown.
I can see some weird fanfics coming out of this revelation. Things are slowly coming to a head, no pun intended. After leaving the Bastion of Strength and going back to Amnitas, Zoja hails us and informs us that Asgarin has been sighted at the Bastion of the Celestial. We gather with our Astral Ward friends at one of the floating platforms of the Bastion, and of course cryptas were there ready to strike. It wouldn't be a Guild Wars 2 mission without red outlines to punch. The angel/demon on our shoulder, Paitha, says the veil is parting. What does that even mean? Zoja overhears, and it becomes clear that we cannot hide Paitha for much longer. As we fight our way through enemies, Paitha tells us to think of a particularly fond memory, something to hold on to in the moments ahead. So the commander chooses to think about their home, friends, and Oreen, and I think about the time I got to go on a date with Kanak and live out my fanfic fantasies. Everyone at this point realizes that Paitha has been hitching a ride with us, but before anything can come of it, Asgarin appears before us. Of course, he's corrupted and not too far gone because reasons, and the best remedy, as always, is to just beat the demons out of him. Since just beating him though would make for a very short instance, we have to follow him around the floating ring. He keeps throwing insults at us, which means nothing to me since everything we've done so far was always for the good of this world. Lear notes that he seems to be heading towards the world's spire, which doesn't make much sense since the Bastion of the Celestial is a literal circle around the spire. Asgarin gets even more defensive and tells us that we only cause pain, which, once again, doesn't make any sense since we're just the errand boy here. During this time, I still wonder why Mabon was too far gone, and Asgarin is not, as the fight with Asgarin is way more intense and it seems he was corrupted much deeper than any being before. Guess we could leave the answer up to good old plot armor. At the peak of the fight, some goodness inside Asgarin starts releasing essences of unity, and everyone knows that the most powerful thing in this world is the power of friendship.
Yes! Give me the power of your friendship!
Finally, as Asgarin retreats towards the spire, we follow him in a portal. Ceres' voice booms from Asgarin. Now we know who was trying to take over the wizard. After fighting some more at the top of the spire, Ceres makes a move by opening a portal to Nyos, which sucks Asgarin and us, the commander, inside. So, we're back in the beautiful land of Nyos, in the same temple that we were in before. Asgarin lies on the ground near death, and Ceres is of course present as well. He thinks he has won, since we're on his turf now. As before, he circles us, and Asgarin calls us to his side. With the last of his strength, he does something actually useful and casts an enchantment on us. We start fighting viciously, but even powered up, we're no match. As we lie on the ground, about to become this demon's dinner, the helpline lady finally sends out a technician after God knows how many calls. Fortunately for us, she decided to take matters into her own hands. As Paitha appears before us, it's almost assured that we're done for. She goes to talk about how treacherous Eparch and his followers are to the demon race and how they disregard their own kind. Technician Paitha snarls at us to get back up, so we end up fighting side by side with her against her own brother. Eventually, We finally fell the demon, and Isgarin stirs again just in time to not be of any help at all. Peitha urges us to leave before the Midnight King can step in, as he was surely watching this siblings' quarrel. Through a portal, we reach the tower once again, and of course the whole crew is there to greet us. Naturally, us includes Peitha. Since she exudes such step-on-me mommy energy, Dagda feels threatened, but before anything can happen, Isgarin intervenes. He takes Peitha to ask some questions in private. Zoja, because nothing makes you decide faster than almost losing another family member, made her decision of joining the Wizard's Court. Isgarin calls to us because he has realized we're the newest errand boy of his little club. We meet with Peitha and Isgarin and find out that there has been some conflict stirring in Nyos as well. Some demons are against Eparch since he uses the other demons as cattle, feasting on their body and souls. Peitha suggests we infiltrate Nyos with her and slowly start turning the demons against Eparch. Isgarin agrees to letting her borrow his newest asset, that being us, and since the ward is still recovering from us doing all the heavy lifting, it is decided that we will go with Peitha alone. After everything we've been through, it seems the commander has zero trust issues and is just willing to throw their life into whatever danger awaits. Who cares though, because seeing more of Nyos is going to be exciting. We decided to take a 3-month breather and wait for Peitha to let us know when to move out. So, that's the story in a nutshell. There obviously will be more story when the first quarterly update arrives. I'm excited to see Nyos and where the whole story with all the new characters will go. Did you guys enjoy the story of Secrets of the Obscure so far? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later. Bye guys!